Hey everybody, it's Matt from Eastwood Company. We're here in the Eastwood garage doing another live technical demo. Now today it's going to be more of a discussion. We're going to be talking about welding helmets and give you a little information about it. If you guys have never watched one of these before, we want it to be as interactive as possible. So we want you to log on, join the chat. Over here on the side here we have Scott, who's one of our techs that you might talk to on the phone if you ever have a question. He's going to be chatting live with you. If you have any technical questions, he can answer them, boom, right when you ask them. We also want you to share this. Let people know that we're doing these broadcasts, and let us know if you have any ideas for future broadcasts on any topic regarding any products that we sell. We'll do our best to do a demo that fits your needs. So today we're talking about welding helmets, which is a very important topic. If you're just getting into welding, a helmet can really change the quality of your weld because it changes the ability of how you can see. So what we have pulled here is two of our probably most common helmets, or two of our favorite helmets. We have our standard helmet here, which has the display lens right in here, and then it has the sensors up in the top here that are sensing the light that's coming in when you strike an arc. The other one over here we have, which is today's actually our daily deal for the day today. If you're interested in this one, you can check it out on eastwood.com on the home page. It's 10% off and it's free shipping, which is pretty cool. But you can see this is actually the opening of the lens on this one. The difference when you're viewing it, we have a shot that we pre-recorded that we'll throw up there, but you can really see the difference when you're welding, how much more area you can view. It's basically like twice the viewing area, which is pretty great. If you're welding something that's out of position, a big time when I like having this helmet is if I'm welding under a car. I can see around everything, like if I'm doing an exhaust, you can kind of see what's around you so you can make sure you can get, if you're doing an out of position weld, it's really nice. The other thing with this helmet that's pretty cool is it has sensors both here on the bottom and on the top. The standard version here just has them on the top. What can be difficult is if you're doing something, again, that's out of position, you may find where you could have an issue where this sensor isn't getting enough light to switch it on and off like you want. So by having the sensors here on the top and the bottom, it has a bigger area that it's covering where it's sensing the light coming in. So it'll be a little more sensitive and a lot safer for your eyes. So some other features that are different on this helmet that's pretty cool. On the side here we have the dial. And you can change the dial here, and we'll show you on the inside the switches in a second here. But basically you can go all the way down to a 5. So there's some numbers down here that you can see in yellow. It goes down from a 5, and you can switch a switch and go all the way up to 13. Some of the base model helmets, this one's included, they don't go down near as low. So if you're somebody that's getting into TIG welding, like I do a lot of sheet metal TIG welding, I'm doing it at a very low amperage. I might be welding at the high point at 40 amps, 50 amps maybe. So when I start striking an arc, it might only be single digits or teens of amperage. Lower end helmets, you're only going to be able to start at say a 9 or a 10. So that helmet might not darken, or it may start flashing on and off for you. So with this helmet, there's a switch on the inside, which we'll show you in a second. Allows you to switch from 2 different scales. So if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of low amperage, or if you're brazing or something like that, you can change it down to a 7, an 8, a 6. But I don't usually go much lower than a 7, just for safety reasons. The other thing is this one has a grind feature, which you find on a lot of the higher end helmets. So if you max this out here and go one more click, it goes to the grind feature. What this does is that you can, once you figure out, you get used to where the dial turns and clicks, you can leave your helmet on, click it to the grind feature. It gives you a preset lens that's a lot lighter, so that basically you can grind, see what you're working on, and it's not gonna dim on you. But when you go to weld, all you have to do is just click it back to where you need to be, and you leave your helmet down. So it also kind of doubles as like a safety apparatus as well. So that's the side gauge or dial section here. On the back side of this helmet, which is, if you've with entry-level helmets, a big thing is getting the adjusted right so that the helmet's not touching your face or it's this. We have some additional adjustments here that you can see on the top. With these, you can really get it snug down on the top of your head so that it's not sliding down over your forehead, in a different position. You can get that adjusted, and all you do is you just there's little clips here where you pull this up, we slide it through, and you tighten it down on your head. So you can tighten it down on the top, and then here in the back you can also, like most helmets, you can push it in and turn it, and that'll adjust it, the tightness from around your forehead, around the band, if you will. It also, of course, has a sweatband here, and for anybody that's done a lot of welding, you know this tends to get pretty nasty. So we made it removable here, so there's little pins there that you can pull the fabric off of, and you can replace it, put a new pad on it, make it fresh so that you don't have one that's either A, all ripped up and dirty, or that's just worse than a pair of gym socks. So I'm going to turn this here so we can get in. All right, so I'm going to try and turn this so you guys can see inside the helmet. Some nice little features here is we have the dial, and I'm going to get my hand out then. We have a range over here. That's our shade range, which I was showing you on the side. So you can flip it from the different ranges so that you can go all the way down to a really light shade. So if you're doing low amperage welding, like I mentioned, with TIG welding, or even if you're just using a torch or something, you can put this on and use it for that. Or you can click it up if you're doing arc welding or you're doing some MIG welding. It's higher amperage. You want to switch it over to that so that you got the darker lens that's going to protect your eyes. The other thing that I find is really handy on this helmet, on the XL View helmet here, is there's a sensitivity dial here on the one side. So you can turn that sensitivity dial from a low to a high, and you can change how sensitive. What that does is it changes how much light that it needs to take in to actually switch it to dark. And this can be really important, again, if you're doing some low amperage welding. You want it to be real sensitive so that it's any sort of light at all flash, it's going to make it flip and go dark for you. The only downside for that can be, that you may fight, is if you have a workbench that's really clean or reflective, or you have a lot of lights over top, it can make this flip on and off. So you may have to just play with it to get it just right, or adjust your light so it's not reflecting on it. But it's very good for safety. I usually keep mine cranked on the sensitivity scale, probably about 80% to 90% towards the high side. I want to be as safe as possible, so I want it to be really sensitive. The other part here is there's a delay, which will give you a delay of the on-off feature of it, which is good. So say you're doing a lot of spot welds or stitch welds, where you're zapping along, you're going on and off the trigger, and if you don't want it to be constantly flashing on and on where you might miss, you can change it so that it basically kind of stalls and hangs dark during that time, which will allow you to continue to keep welding without having to worry about the lens flashing off and on. So that's really handy. Those two dials there, you definitely want to dial them in before you start welding. So what I like to do with the sensitivity is I like to change the sensitivity. I'll turn it up to 80 or 90%, and then what I'll do is I'll find a bright shop light, and I'll go up and make sure that it's clicking on and off for me. So just to be safe. So you can always check these with a really bright light. So if you have a work light, a spotlight, you can put it right up to it real quick, and it should be sensitive enough that by putting it right up to the light, it should flick it on and off. If it isn't, I would try and adjust it so that it does, just to be safe. And then, of course, the delay, that's kind of a personal thing, depending on the job you're doing. I usually keep the delay down pretty low. I don't want too much of a delay. But, again, depending what you're doing, you may want to turn it up on there. Now, it does have a battery inside, and there's a little low battery light in here that will tell you when the battery's running dim. But the batteries are pretty simple to replace. Basically just, there we go. So basically you got a little cover here, slide this guy off, and you can pull the battery out of the inside. These batteries, they're nothing special as far as the size of them. You can pull the battery out, go to pretty much any department store that carries like watch batteries and things like that. Usually on the battery stand in most department stores, they'll have a battery that matches this so you can get going. I've even in a pinch gone to like a drugstore after hour, you know, a 24-hour place, and I found they actually have them in stock, which is pretty cool when you're in a bind doing late night welding. So again, this is the XL View helmet. It is a special for today. It's our daily deal, 10% off, free shipping. This helmet has the features of helmets that are 2 to 3 times the price of this helmet. And you can save that money, put it somewhere else, and you'll get a helmet that's going to last you and is going to have all the features, like the grind feature and the low amperage lens feature that a lot of the higher end helmets have, but it's going to cost you a lot more money. So if you're a weekend warrior or you're just a DIY guy, this is a great option. It's going to get you going. And the price difference isn't all that much in the realm of welding supplies. So it makes sense to just jump yourself up to this one if you got the money to. I definitely suggest jumping yourself up to that one. Scott, do we have any questions regarding welding helmets or welding at all?
Nothing that's too much. Just make sure, let them know that the grind mode is the perfect for like grinding, like you said, and then also Shade 5 is really good for the plasma cutting and stuff like that, because they did have a couple questions on that. Yeah, so we did. Scott made a good point here. We had a couple questions that he already answered. If you guys aren't following the chat, asking about plasma cutting, so you can turn the shade all the way down to like a 6 or the grind mode, and you can plasma cut with it. So instead of having your shade, you have to switch to your shades. You can just grab your welding helmet, turn it down to either grind or to a 6 all the way down, and you can use it on that function. So that's a good point. Great for plasma cutting, and I'm glad you guys are asking those questions. So that's all I really got today for the welding helmets. We just want to go over some of the features. If you have any ideas for future live technical demos, whether it's welding, painting, anything else in our product line, drop us a comment here below the video with your suggestion, and we'll do our best to start putting together a schedule with some of your ideas so we can really talk about stuff that you guys want to see. Thanks for watching. I'm Matt. I'll catch you guys later.